my villagers. Good afternoon, my villagers. You know, this is a real memorable month, the month of June, in a lot of different ways. Uh, a month full of celebrations, you know, birthdays of our ancestors, June 10th, Black Music Month, and of course, as I said before, birthdays of our great ancestors. A few I can bring to mind is Lena Horne, great pianist, amongst other things. Booker T. Washington, uh, just to name a few. And now the month that the New York Knicks came into the history books, winning, winning the championship. First time in
I'm still on cloud
52
nine.
years. Some of you was not even born. You hear I didn't say some of us. Some of you were not even born.
Yeah,
Oh, what a celebration.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be a ticker tape
I think I
parade.
remember that championship.
Yeah, there's going to be
I
a
was
ti-
just a teenager.
yeah, there's going to be a uh, what do you call it? Track
Ticker top.
ticker tape parade celebration on
Ticker
Thursday.
tape. Yeah, ticker tape.
Another landmark for the calendar. But we, to get serious now, we as African Americans and Americans in general have other concerns.
Mm-hmm.
It seems as though, as long as black folk, African walk the streets of this God-forsaken place called America,
Yes.
we will be suffering tragedy any month, foreshadowing our celebration. I'm talking about the tragic ending of the lives of two young African male babies. Yeah, that's how I describe them. 14 and
Yeah,
17.
yeah,
Didn't
it's a
grow
shame.
into full personhood, couldn't get a license at that time, couldn't go to school without permission, couldn't provide for themselves legally, couldn't live as an adult, but yet being treated like full-fledged adults.
Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm.
Ain't no reason for wrong if you want to do right. That's a song I'm attaching to my documentary and memoir.
Mm.
It's hard to tell these stories. It's so painful,
Yes.
but we must. Right now, though, I want to thank my team, and then I'll get back to the tragedies. My producer, Sheila Bird, my advisor, Juanita, my promo crew, Chastity and Celine, Harlene, I always miscall the name, and of course Tony, who sends in the clippings, call him
right.
my bonus son,
Yes.
and of course Norm, our engineer,
Stormy Norman.
Stormy Norm.
Yes.
And I can never forget my co-host. She just makes it. I tell you, she's going through some issues now. I won't even discuss, but you have to give her applause and credit because she just makes it every time.
God
And
willing.
yeah, God bless you. And my host for book review, Reverend Clyde Dennings.
Yes.
And now the
Agreed.
tragedies that keep me awake at night. I have sons all over the place. Grandsons, great-grandsons, bonus sons, sons of the village. Talking about the month of June and days of remembrance. Well, two recent incidents, and I'm sure there were more, but they are the two that have been publicized. A Korean merchant, Rick Crow is his name, Rick Crow, I think,
Mm-hmm.
and his 20-year-old son in tow shot a 14-year-old black kid, baby I call him, in the back, running home, I imagine, to his parents after being accused of stealing, which was proven to be a lie. And the second incident, the second injustice, within a 2-week span of time, another black baby, yeah, I called him that too because he was only 17 when he got into the confrontation with a group of white kids back 2 years ago. And now, by all accounts, the incident was in self-defense. The young man, Austin Metcalf, was the victim in this case. The young man was accosted by two brothers and their friends at a outing, a sports outing,
Yeah, track me.
track meet outing. He ran into their tent from the rain after an invitation by another friend. He was told to
Yes.
leave by the young men who was there, but he refused to go back out in the rain. It wasn't their tent. I understand the young men, this was a twin, set of twin. I understand they threatened him, and he dared the threat, as when any one of us would. You know, I've never been the bravest person in the crowd, but I have always stood my ground. You know, this young brother pulled the little switchblade knife, I understand, he had in his bag and tried to defend himself from these two 211-pound bullies, and he was only like 160 something pounds.
Yeah.
Mind you, there was another incident a couple of years ago. Can't think of the name right now. Some of you may remember this white kid who went into a demonstration, left his home with a gun, unlicensed, and he pulled his unlicensed, unlawful gun and shot two people dead. What's the name? I can't think of him now. Kyle Rittenhouse. Yeah. Shot him to death. Went to court. I don't think he ever was arrested and was exonerated. Now make some sense out of that.
There is
I won't wait. No, and I won't wait for a
Don't wait
response
for it.
because I know you can't make any sense out of it. It's racism, pure and simple. We're in some dire times. More importantly than ever, for you to make voting your priority this time. Maybe the only chance we have to reverse this madness. Now, two sentences I don't want to hear again. One is, I don't do politics because it sure doing you. And another one is, God will take care of it. Both statements are shirking your responsibilities, I think. If you don't do politics, politics are sure going to do you, and it's doing you. And the
That's right.
statement that, quote, God will take care of it, I believe, is an excuse to do nothing. The message I've been getting from God comes from Scripture, Ecclesiastic 3. To everything there's a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. Now you hear that, right? Under the heaven. Now that's what's happening up there. In heaven is in heaven, and God allows you to handle your business in reason. That is, at least that's what I get from it. Then I go to the other scripture, the book of Joshua. They fought the battles of Jericho. So this waiting for God is an excuse. I have God with me every single day. Coming from a racist, segregated South with my temperament for justice, you better have God right next to you every step of the way.
Amen.
And I know I did. But again, we can't blame us for some of our thinking. If we knew better, we would do better. I'll be coming out with my documentary explaining our situation very soon. If slavery was a crime, listen to me. If that was a crime, it was also an injury. And until we understand it from that perspective, we're going to always misread the assignment we need tending to, restoring us to who we were when we were conquerors, builders, creators, etc. Again, slavery was not just a crime, but also an injury. When some of us think the way we think because we haven't been tended to, we have to worry about ourselves and others. Yeah, we got to worry about others too. You all remember when I sent out a clarion call to my white sisters some time ago. Said, what's wrong with your men? Now, most men love women. They just do. It comes from loving their mamas, I think. I'm not talking about romantic love. I'm talking about that agape love. Men just love women. But white men, these lowlives, non-human Neanderthals, don't seem to have the capacity. This is called, I don't know if you all recall this guy. I've never heard of him before, but since he made the statement, I'm hearing about his name now. the comedian Bill Burr, he
Yeah.
made a dirty joke about the First Lady, Michelle Obama.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he looks like a redneck I knew from my hometown of Lake Butler, Florida. And we used to call
Mm,
him Red Crawford. The most,
mm.
the most degenerate amongst his own people. And the only thing that made him feel better was when he felt he was better than the best of us.
Mm.
The Obamas live rent free in the heads in some of these lowlifes. But to talk about a female, it's just kind of sick. What y'all think? Rev, I'm going to put the
Well,
question to you. What you
I,
think about that?
you know, I think the dog whistle was sounded off like a long time ago under the Trump administration, and it seems like he's given the green light for racist people in this nation. And since he's been elected, racism and bigotry and rudeness and
Yes.
everything has and
Mm-hmm.
violence
Has
has
rise.
escalated from 0 to 60
Mm-hmm.
in like no time. He pretty much tapped into the veins of people who share the same like-minded mentalities. The racists, white nationalists, the white supremacists, and you see, they're not just in in our communities or on ICE or other, but they're behind the benches with black robes on.
Yes.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
they're riding around in police cars,
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yes.
and these are the people that's making decisions over the lives of black Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And the violence that happened recently, I'm surprised, but I'm not shocked.
No.
And but one thing for sure, I will never become so numb to our young black men being killed on the streets
Yes.
to the point where I will not raise my voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I would urge, and I'm going to close it, but I would urge, particularly because I am a minister, for, black ministers and pastors to show your strength. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it may not affect you directly, but it certainly affects you indirectly.
Mm-hmm.
And, more than ever, this is the time, as Sister Shivers mentioned, for us to stick together. And, her solution to a documentary is trying to find out,
Yes.
you know, part of it is how will we finally begin to stick together? So that dog whistle been sounded a long time ago. So
Yes.
when the jurors and when uh, Carmela was founded
Guilty.
guilty,
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty much um, planned in the system.
Yes.
They had
Yes.
Yes.
an all white juror. It wasn't a jury of his peers, certainly not.
Right.
And self defense. I'm a man growing up in the hood myself, so I never start trouble, but it's a valuable thing to defend yourself. So when
That's
someone
right.
puts their hands on you, they lose their right,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. Because
But
he
in the
could have
case of
ended
the
up
court,
dead because if he had not defended himself, they may have, done what they
Of
generally
course.
do to us when we're
Of
by
course.
ourselves. And I think he was alone, the only black there at the time. May never have seen him again. Or if you saw him, he would have been dead somewhere. And there was been
yeah,
nothing you could do about that.
absolutely. And it was wrong for, well, I'm not going to say it was wrong, but it was pretty much common for 12 jurors to find Carmel Anthony guilty of murder one instead of self defense. Because,
Right.
had he been charged of a crime of passion, given his age, the most they could have given him was pretty much like 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, they tried him as an adult,
Mm-hmm.
which, you know, put that much out of push that right out of the window. The
Yeah.
passion, the crime of passion,
Mm-hmm.
and it was just, and then they have their right to appeal, but how long is that going to take before
Exactly.
it actually appeal? So it wasn't a crime. It's just the moral of it, is that we have to continue to speak up because under this administration, he's already given judges, the green light. And just because this is a pup, a well-known case, in the media and has a lot of attention, But how many other cases in
Exactly.
little southern towns that we don't hear
That we
about,
don't even hear about.
where our young black men are being sentenced for little or nothing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Um,
that's right.
Yeah. Rose, what is your opinion of that?
You know what I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
I say that it's, as you said, nothing new. I was not surprised.
that's right.
I
Hmm.
was taken back by their abrasiveness.
Yeah.
Um, but I knew who we were dealing with when we had an all white jury. You know, I was thinking of Rosewood,
Yeah.
Mega Everett, all those other cases
Exactly.
that have come before this one. But I still say, I've always say it, I feel it, it's not over.
Oh no, it
It
definitely
is
not
not
over.
over.
And it's so obvious. It's too obvious to be real. It's just that it's showing us something. We aren't maybe unprivy to the real situation around us entail, but we do know that this can't last forever this way, and it
Exactly
won't go
right.
back. It's not
Exactly right.
taking us back to where we were.
Right.
And make no mistake about it. It wasn't that we was acquiescing to whatever was going on.
No.
Make no mistake.
No.
We fought, but we didn't have what we at least have now to fight with us. Fight, and
That's right.
even though we didn't, we fought. The Nat Turners of the world proved that. There are
Right.
folks who were just proven history that we didn't just sit down and take it. It's just that we was overwhelmed. We was over,
Right. Of course, we didn't have what they had, the
Yeah.
guns and everything else.
Mhm.
But
the government. See,
well, all
in
of it,
addition
all
to
of
the
it.
guns and things, they had the government
Right,
behind
they
them,
had
and
the power.
the power behind them that they
Right.
could come in on us like
Right.
they did.
Right.
Like in Rosewood, was that where they dropped the bomb? That was the
No,
government.
Yes.
that was
you know,
Oklahoma.
Government. Yes,
Yeah.
that was government.
government.
Rosewood is where they raped
Mhm.
his 6-year-old coming home, two white
No,
boys.
this is the case where the lady claimed that an elevator worker who was black
Oh, raped her.
said something to her fresh or tried to, assault her or something like that. So she spread the rumor.
Oh yeah, I
Oh
got
no
it
no
mixed
no,
up
I'm
with a
sorry.
Time for Killing.
Mhm.
That
No no,
movie, The
you know.
Time for Killing, where they raped Samuel Jackson's 6-year-old, and
Oh, that was
yeah,
no.
that
It's
was
for I just watched that
yeah,
today.
yeah. You did, yeah. I mean, there were
Watched
so
it, yeah.
many,
Yeah, so many. You can't even keep
incidents
up with them anymore. Like
with
the Emmett
them.
Till
I'm telling you. Oh,
incident.
don't even talk
Yeah.
about Emmett Till
So
and
Yeah,
oh,
that was sad.
and those are the
How
ones that
the
we know about.
yeah,
Like you
that we
said.
know about. But
What
how
about all
many?
the
how
ones
the
that we
injustice
don't
system
know
does
about?
that.
Yeah. There's the rumors now that a lot of our kids committed suicide. How can you
Yeah.
commit suicide hanging yourself?
Because they think that there's no hope. But the thing is, we have to. Now is our time to take a stand. Now is our time to do what we're going to do. Because I'm telling you, I'm ready.
Mm-hmm.
Not only am I ready, I have moved towards it. We have to take a stand. It is time for black people to unite. Even Africa is calling out for us to unite
That's
together.
right.
You know,
Yeah, you're right.
it's our time now. It's our
Yeah.
time now. The thing is, I
Yeah,
wanted to
because
point out real quick. Go ahead.
if you're looking at this through the carnal senses, through the carnal eye, you'll become lost and confused. But
Right,
I have to always reiterate that we're living in prophetic times,
right. That's what
and
I was
if
going to
you
say.
know
Yeah,
in
exactly.
Jeremiah and rest
Right.
of
A lot of scripture.
scriptures that substantiate, we're right there, and
Right.
it's amazing because we're watching this
In
actually
our day
unfold
and
before our
time,
very
I'm telling you. I'm
It's
telling
our
you.
time. It's
Mm-hmm.
our,
Did you ever believe
but
that
the
you would
enemy.
be here?
Never.
I
And even I have lived experiences of much of the stuff that is happening even right here. Never thought I'd go back. And I'm just curious sometime, and not curious, but it just bothers me that our younger people, folks who probably post, uh, I'd say 1961,
Mhm.
that have never experienced what
No.
they are
No.
experiencing today.
Exactly.
So it flabbergasts the best of us. But for a person like myself who have the lived experience, I have historical knowledge of stuff. They have historical knowledge. I have lived experience because I was back there when you couldn't walk on the same side of the street, or when a person like Emmett Till would be murdered,
Yes.
lynched, and the whole 9 yards, and it was not a thing you could do legally about it. So it doesn't it doesn't surprise me. It's just that I know many of our folks prior just don't know the situation.
Yeah, they just don't know. It was hell.
Yeah.
Every bit of history, it was a lie.
Yeah.
So you gotta to decipher what was the truth, what was a lie. A lot of it was hid. So we're living in a time where so much is coming at us, but we have to stay focused.
And we're going to stay focused, and when we get information that would allow us to put things in context, one of the things that I'm working on, my documentary, along with Reverend Dunn, we're working on it, we're trying to bring in a show from a different perspective. Even some of our most learned people, some of our PhDs, some of our Rhodes Scholars. I'm always, when I use the term, I'm Ruby, I always forget to introduce myself, but you all know me. Ruby Williams Shivers, your unapologetic amateur, looking for experts in Africanism. Now, I brought that term because for a reason, and they tell me somewhere to cure a thing, you have to name a thing. So once we put a name to it, we would allow people to know that we know there's something wrong with our way of moving forward now that contradicts the information we had about ourselves prior to 400 years over here.
Absolutely.
See, we contradict that. So if it contradicts that we were the inventors, we were the creators, we were the warriors. Well, if that is not what you're seeing now, we need to start thinking, well, what is that? And it's not to say people have not gone into diagnosing. There's a whole lot of experts who have diagnosed. Dr. DeGraw, I think about. She did post-traumatic slave syndrome, laid it out there. What I'm suggesting now, this little amateur is suggesting that we put these experts together and form and understand that we need restoration. We need cures. We need to be tended to as you would tend to any illness. If we're going to say slavery was not just a crime but an injury, so what do we do with the injury? We have to do it with the same, we have to think of it in the same manner that you would think of, that an oncologist would think of cancer, or that a cardiologist would think of the heart, or that whatever. Then we need to think of ours in that vein. We got to have our experts to come together under institutions, etc., to create a way that we can get attended to, we can get cured. Because many of us don't understand the situation we're in, and we compare ourselves with other folks on.
So many of us don't. I've talked to so many people, and they're like so unaware.
Yeah.
Unaware.
Yeah.
So we have to reach them. We have to.
Yeah.
We have to reach them.
And in a very organized way. I mean,
And
got
it's
to.
also be convincing. I think I got cut off.
Well, we're not seeing your face. I hear your voice.
We're hearing you, but we're not. You got to cut
Yeah, I
your
think
video back on.
No, I think that's technical on your side.
No, it's on your side.
Yeah. But in the meantime, we'll go forward with what we were saying about what we got to do for ourselves, which means that we cannot throw the blame on us, because if you have an injury, you're not necessarily expected to treat it or cure it. You go to a doctor who's trained in the particular injury that you're complaining about. The same with us. We had 200 years at least. The first 200 years are just totally stripping.
There you are.
There you are again. So we had.
Yeah, I had to restart it.
Yeah, we had the 200 years. We know that we experienced something that no other human being on the planet or above the planet have experienced. They had, even the United Nations just recently adopted a resolution declaring that what we went through, the Africans who were brought over here,
it was the
worse than
humanity.
not one of the worst, They say the worst. And if we know that to be a fact, and we know it to be a fact,
Exactly right.
we just can't then continue to call it what other folks are calling similar things.
Right.
You know, if we say slavery, that confuse us and other
Right,
folks.
right.
They mean that, well, then everybody's been enslaved, or there are other folks who've been enslaved, not everybody, but there
Right.
are other folks who've been enslaved. Biblically, you had slavery. Well, then we know if that was slavery, it was nothing like what we experienced over the 200 years
Right.
in the diaspora.
And they're still experiencing.
Still experiencing, but
Because it's
but
the same
particularly the first
institutions
200
that are
years.
keeping that stuff alive.
Oh yeah, but particularly the first
Oh, yeah,
200
those-
years,
yeah.
they brutally
Oh, definitely.
destroyed millions of us. And what they did with the psychological and otherwise maintains itself even to today.
Right.
Mutated and the whole
Right.
9 yards.
You know what I was thinking about the roots,
Mhm.
Alex Haley's roots.
Mm.
Everything that happened to us was depicted in the character Kunta Kinte.
Kunta Kinte.
When they said,
Kunta Kinte.
your name is Toby, and he said, no,
Yeah.
Kunta Kinte. And they beat him within an inch of death.
Oh.
To where
Yeah.
the people came around him and said, look, you know who you are. So do what because they're going to kill you if you don't do it, because he had to be made an example.
Mm-hmm.
So he finally said, Toby, he finally,
Yeah.
but he always knew who he was,
Yeah.
and he always passed the truth
Right.
to his children.
And
So
that
that's
can
what
last,
we're
but
dealing with.
right, that's what
That's
we're
what
dealing
we're
with,
dealing
and that can last but for so long. But when
Right.
generations after generations
Yes.
after, you then lose some of that desire to even try to defend yourself.
Right.
So, and it's no fault of your own. You're
Right.
just living. Then
Right.
at that point, you're just trying to
Survival.
live, just trying to survive. And not only did we survive, we thrived in spite of all that they've done.
Exactly.
But we cannot deny the fact that we need, the same as any other group that has been affected like this, some kind of attention other
Yes.
than what we get.
Yes.
Otherwise, we're going to continue to get the Clarence Thomases, the Candace Owens, all those other folks that don't know what ends it up. And we really can't blame them. We don't need them around, but we can't
Right.
blame them because we know
Right.
they're coming from a space where
Right.
they have never been treated,
Right.
never been tended to.
Right.
And when you're in that position, you just cannot put the blame on the injured person or the sick
Yeah.
person.
And a lot of people don't understand.
That's-
I heard an Asian lady, this is the first time I ever saw this.
Mm-hmm.
It was an Asian lady cussing us out with curse words. Their business is being affected because a lot of black people have rolled back.
Oh,
Now
I
they're doing
definitely
it.
have rolled back.
Yeah, rolled back.
And
with
nothing
the
personal,
nails
I'll say
done.
that.
And so
Mhm.
she was cussing us out and saying our parents should have raised us right, and you guys are loafers and Negroes. And I just said in the chat, because I know that you don't understand because of what's coming out of your mouth, you couldn't possibly understand. I'm going to give you a pass. But we are going to continue to boycott because we have to transfer our dollars from them. We have to stop, even me. I said, no more braiding of the hair. We have got to come back to who we
Yeah.
are. And
Yeah.
most importantly, take our dollars with us.
Yeah. Because, again, I'm not throwing a blame on even them because they've been taught what they've been taught. Before
Right.
they
She
leave,
didn't know no better.
before they get off the bus, the plane, the train, the wherever they're coming
Right.
out from,
This is what
they
they were
have
taught.
been taught the negative things against us.
Right.
So you can't blame them, but I still cannot find myself doing anything other than what I know is right to do for us, me and my people.
Right.
I am boycotting. I'm let the world know.
That's
I,
right. You
I
have to.
love Chinese food. I love
that's
that
right.
shrimp and
Yes, we have
broccoli.
to pull it back.
And I do my nails. I have good relationship with the ones that but I would be ashamed
Right.
to sit up under any
No more.
one of them.
I rolled
Knowing
back all
what
of
they
that.
think, however misleading it is for them.
Right.
I agree with that. But I would be ashamed to sit up under them knowing what they think of me, so I'm boycotting. And some of my folks who say, well, you can't blame all of them. No, I'm
Right.
not blaming any of them.
No, I'm not.
I'm
but
saying,
they know
yeah,
better, Ruby.
but and
Some
even
of
if
them know better.
They may, yeah. But even if they don't know better, I know better. So if they don't know better, it's up to me to know better for
And to
my
do
people
better,
and
right.
to do
Be the
better.
example.
Be the
I
example.
want to share something with you.
Go on.
2 summers ago, it was. I went into a newly Asian hair store in New Brunswick, where I live. Well, it was in Somerset because it was in Somerset. They're so close together, the line. And I said to the Chinese guy, it was a few black people in there. We're in line. I said, let me ask you something. You hired this Spanish young lady, and this is no disrespect to you. I get it. You know, somebody that speaks Spanish, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm looking in line, and there's nobody in line but us. So you're taking our dollars. So how many of us are you going to hire? Because I'm telling you right
Not only
now.
that, not,
They
not
don't
only
hire.
that, but
I'm going to start
Yeah.
putting signs around. I'm going to start getting those same signs that the politicians get and stick in the grass and put it where their stores. If blacks don't work here, we can't buy here. And you have to make up your mind. You have to give up something.
Yeah.
Everything comes with a sacrifice, especially freedom and a voice is to be heard. You cannot support them and have them do what they're doing to us behind their back. We got to send a message just like we
Got
did
to
with
send
Target
a message. Oh
and
yeah,
everybody else.
definitely.
Daniel
well,
here.
there's not only the respect, but they're not going to they're never going to respect us as long as we continue to patronize their business, and they know that we're not supporting our own.
Right.
So they feel free. Like I thought I thought we were going to mention this tonight, but about the Asian store owner, for instance, that was acquitted in South Carolina.
I did. That was
did.
the young man I was talking about, the little baby that they shot in the back. And some
Yeah, that he
people are
ran up
suspecting
a
that it might have
convenience
been the
store.
son. It was both him and his son, the 20-year-old son, running behind this kid. What's his
think
Yeah,
name?
so, too.
What's his name? I had the name here. I want to
Dalton,
always call the
Dalton,
name. Yeah,
yeah,
ran behind
that-
the kid and shot him in the back.
Right.
That's the one I was talking about. Yeah, he did.
And then they
his
proved
name
that
is
he never
Rick
stole
Chow.
anything.
Never
Rick
stole
Chow.
anything. Yeah,
Yeah, Rick Chow, the store owner.
the store owner was
And-
Rick Child, the young man. I
Yeah.
can't think of his name right now. I had it written down here, so I want to always call their
See,
name.
we can't let these things go.
No.
We cannot let these things. And the thing that gets me, and that's just terrible to say that, where are these gangs?
His name is Cormac
Where are the gangs? They
Belton.
want to shoot each other?
Yeah.
Those are who you shoot.
Well,
And I hate to
they don't-
say that.
Well, no. What I'm saying, it's okay to say
You
that's
know
what
what
you're
I mean?
feeling. But what I'm saying, that's part of what my documentary is about, to show why that doesn't happen. You would assume that. But to show why that doesn't happen, because they don't see it the same as you and I are seeing it.
Right.
Because they have not been tended to. They have not been treated, in other words. If we have been taught over 200 years at least, I won't even mention the next 200, but if we had been taught over 200 years that we are our worst enemy, then that's who we shoot, you know? So when they go by this shooting and whatever else, calling the N-word and everything, that's evidence right there where our mind is. Anyone, I don't care who it is, these artists out here now, you still using the N-word, they can't convince me that
yes.
that's just an endearment. But let me put it this way: I'm again saying you can't blaming and blaming. No, again, listen to me. When they do that, that's more evident that we need treatment. We can't blame them for not knowing better, because if they knew better, they would do better.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to stand together and boycott them too.
Oh yeah, if we're going to make a point, we
We
need
got
to
to boycott them too.
We do
All
do
of them.
that.
Drake, I don't
Yeah.
know more, but the ones that I hear about, the ones that Young Money. All
Well,
of them.
yeah, boycott them because
boycott
they'll
'em.
bring attention to what we
Right.
are trying to say.
Right.
But at the same time, understand ourselves mentally that is not their fault if they haven't been treated.
Right,
That's just like asking a person who got, this virus that came out 2020, the pandemic. You going around here having all kind of symptoms and saying somebody gonna blame you?
Right.
No, they
right.
can't. They had to say,
Right.
well, I got to develop this vaccine and
out
try to
what-
better do the
right.
best they could.
And try to cure.
In simple terms, that's what happened. That's what we're going to have to begin to understand. If you see those Drakes and whatever else is out there doing, that's good point you just made.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Drake, I don't know that much about
I don't either.
music, but I do listen to them in terms of trying to find out what's going on. Drake, from what I gather, is half Jewish and half
Yeah, he's
African
mixed.
American
He's
or half
mulatto.
black. Put it that way.
But it has nothing to do with it.
No,
It's
it
coming
has
out of his mouth.
you're right, but it has everything to do with. Listen to what I'm trying to say. Now he uses the N words in his record because I listen
Right.
to that,
Right.
but I don't hear him
He don't
using.
slander the white side.
I'm saying
All
that's what
right,
I'm saying.
then. That's what I
So
said, no,
he
it's good.
doesn't slam the white side of himself, the Jewish side of himself, however you want to characterize it. But he doesn't do that, which means he may not be purposely understanding it, but that is what it is. Unless we get here and train people, teach people the what I call the expert specialist, not just me, because he may not pay attention to me. Probably won't. Probably listen to me and say, oh, that old lady don't know what you're talking about. But if we had enough of the Dr. DeGroy around, Dr. John Henry Clark's around, Dr. Francis Cress Wilson's around, if we had enough of the doctor of whoever our experts are in an institution, in spaces that is recognized, and talking about this and teaching this, somebody will listen. And that's what we're going to have to come to. And we're going to come to that eventually because I'm going to, before I leave this earth, I'm going to put
Me too.
I'm going to make the point.
I am on a mission. And you know
Yeah.
what? Even if I don't come across any of those people, degree people, even if now you need the specialists, you got to have them,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
got to have the spiritual people, and
Yeah.
for the power, and then
Yeah.
you got to have the scientists, spiritual people, and,
Yeah.
and the historians.
You're a historian,
However,
the scientist, the spiritualist.
we are
the-
living in an age of information, artificial AI, which is the most powerful. Let me tell you something. Like in school, they asked us in college. Now they want us to say what AI tool you're using. I took two AI courses, so I'm pretty knowledgeable in the basics, just the basics, and which tools are best for which, because it's a thing of experimenting, really. And I tell you, all my research, you could put in AI and ask them a question, and I want to tell you something. They are going to give you everything that's in the data.
The full scope.
in
They're
this
going to
world.
help you think
In
outside
this
the
world.
box.
Then you can take that knowledge and say it's been backed up by this person, that, which we call in college, what do you call it? Peer review.
Cross-referencing?
Peer review. Like if you write
Peer
something
review.
and I'm a
the
psychologist
peer review,
now,
right.
and I write something. Well, it's reviewed by
By the
my
peers.
to see if I know people that been in the profession a lot longer than I, to see if I know what I'm talking about. They're the ones that give you your accreditation. So I'm saying you could find out things now. You could look it up.
Yeah.
History's not hidden anymore.
Yeah.
It's open.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I love about it is that, the newer generations, even me growing up, I was void of the information that is accessible today.
Yes.
And, I found myself even at a later date having to reteach myself because there's just some questions that were left unanswered that you want to know about. So that's why, I'm hoping that this new generation latch on to the information that's provided to them and, and stand up because,
Yes.
I think that's the reason why people are asleep because they have not been accessible to.
You're absolutely right, but let me state further. They can know as much as they want to know because we have a whole lot of people out there knowing a whole lot of things.
Yes.
That's like me. Somebody was talking, one of the great scholars of our time, I won't even call any name, but I wanted him on my show, and I said to him, gave him the name of the show, Unapologetic Amateur Looking for Experts in Africa. And he said, well, anybody could be an expert if they know their history. And of course, I was not going to debate with a scholar, so I said, I don't know. That was in 2020 when the virus had just come. I said, I don't know about that. I said, I know a little bit about the viruses. I even ran off the different viruses that I knew about. I said, but that doesn't make me an expert. So we can't get it twisted. just to know about our history doesn't mean we're the experts. It means
Well,
that
now
we know
knowing how
about
to
our
navigate
history.
it is more important.
Yeah, maybe he
We,
meant how to navigate.
Knowing how to navigate
yeah, but no, what I'm
through.
saying is the same as you will never, a cardiologist just
Yeah,
say,
right,
will not
right.
go to an oncologist, and then both of them are very well healed, very well studied, very well learned in whatever they are. But that wouldn't assume that your cardiologist know oncology.
Right.
You know, that's what I'm saying. What we're talking about as Africans, and I call it
Right.
Africanism,
Right.
you got to know that. And in order to know that, you got to know this. One, you got to know the psychology of it. You got to know the history of it. You got to know, like you said, the spirituality of it. I
Right.
don't know if I want to use that word, spirituality. What do I need? I'm trying to think. But basically,
Right.
coming from that perspective.
Right.
So there are certain things you would have to know to be qualified for what I'm talking about, to be of Africanism, to use a term. They say to
Well, like there are all
current thing,
sorts
you
of
got to name
doctors,
it.
different types of specialists. There are different people who have gone through different lived experiences. And, based on, like I always say, we never stop learning because life never stops teaching.
Right.
And I think that some of us have gone through experiences where life has taught us. And I may not be an expert on the tooth or the ankle or the elbow, but when it comes to the body, I pretty much think I'm an expert through my lived experiences.
Oh,
And just like
there are
anybody else who's an expert, I guarantee you, their foundation was based off their experience.
Yeah, they have to come
Like
to the table too.
like they would say, we didn't make history. History made us.
Right.
You
But
know,
she means
we
put that
wasn't trying to be
coalition
slaves, but
together, and
like
then we can
Malcolm,
bring a
I
good
don't mean
Malcolm
people
said,
exception. There's
yeah.
exception to any rule. I
Yeah.
often use the great ancestor Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad. I always
Malcolm,
use him
okay.
in terms of knowing that you don't have to be expert in terms of academic. You know, particularly with this Eurocentric epidemic. So I'm not talking about that. There are exceptions to
experience
any.
count. Yeah.
I'm talking about the ones you respect. You
Right.
may say anybody can do it, but you ain't going to no cardiac. You're not coming to me because I say I know how to cure your heart.
Yeah, but
Now
I
you're not
understand
just
what
going to
he's
do
saying,
that.
too.
But we do know there are folks out there.
Dr. Sabi was one.
Yeah.
Dr.
Uh-huh.
Sabi was one. And that's
So
why
we
he's
do
dead.
have exception to the rule.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting that we don't. I'm suggesting that for us, we need to treat it the same as you would
Right. Right. That's what she means.
a
Right.
heart patient.
Right.
You're not going to just send them to anybody because you say, oh, this person that
Right.
had the experience, they know what they're doing. Unless you're
Right.
sure, like you say,
Right.
Dr. Sabi.
Right.
There's an exception to the rule. They're experts. They may not have the degrees, but they are experts.
Right.
I'm not talking about just people with degrees.
Right. Right.
I'm
right.
people who have studied and can prove. Like there's a he's a can't think of his name, but he's been over in Egypt for the last 10 years, and I'm not sure if he's there now. But he was excavating. He did, was studying,
Oh,
and
I know a lot of them.
Yeah.
I know, that's
Well,
my
he's
thing.
he's very renowned.
History
I just
Channel.
can't think of what his name is now. I met him at Simotep one time I was over there.
Is he black?
Yeah, yeah. That's who I'm talking about. I'm talking about black
Ben
experts.
Carson?
No, oh, please.
No, I'm not talking about.
No,
I'm not
I
talking
know,
about.
I know.
that
No, I
person.
wasn't. No, okay. No, I can't think of his name right now.
Because there's a
But,
lot of black.
yeah.
If you watch a History
So he
Channel,
was an
you see
expert
really
in
talented
Africanism?
experts.
Yeah, that's what he does. And he was
Astrophysicist,
excavating in
all of them.
Egypt for years.
Did he
studying them.
specialize in any area of Africanism?
Yeah, he
Because
yeah.
you have many
Archaeology?
dimensions when it comes to that
Yeah, whatever
terminology.
he was specializing
I
in,
should
he
know
was
that.
excavating the ruins.
He's
of
an archaeologist.
Archaeologist.
I
along
know
with
him.
other
I know
things.
most of
Archaeologist.
them.
I can't think of his name right now. but I have-
52 years of watching the History Channel. Believe you.
Well,
me.
I knew
Wow.
him
I think I-
personally because I was over in Simotep for a
Okay.
while, and he used to come over and
Okay.
talk about him and his daughter. He took her along with him now too, so both of them studying. But anyway, it doesn't matter. What I'm trying to convey is that we got to take ourselves as seriously
Yes,
as one would
yes.
take cardiology.
Yeah.
We can't say we just go get anybody out here because there are
Right.
some folks who can meet the requirements of the expert. meet the requirement. But to the extent that we can't afford to just get anybody, just because in that case, that's what has been happening with us.
Yeah.
We go and jump and pick up a
'Cause they haven't
Kanye
done the
West
work.
because he got money.
Right,
We'll
they
pick
haven't
up
done the work.
Clarence Thomas because he's
What is it?
Not me.
Tom. But aside
Not
from
me.
that,
What is
he's
it?
the highest ranking official in the judicial system in this country. Okay, we go
One
and
of 'em.
even
One of
our good, even our President Obama, love him dearly. He's
Yeah, I do too.
everything.
But
But
he has
he's
his
not
issues.
qualified for
Yes.
what we need in terms of. That's one of the reasons some of our young black men were just a little bit offended when he created this thing, My Brother's Keeper. He meant well. He definitely meant well. But it implied that they were not holding up to their responsibility.
Right.
And it kind of insulted some of them. What they didn't know is just because he has a PhD, Harvard graduate, President of the United States, doesn't mean he knew,
Everything,
everything
yeah.
in Africanism.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
We got to be as serious as a heart attack. We got to be as serious as someone who will look at us in the days of that pandemic when that crazy man, that President of the United States, the most powerful man, inarguably, in the world at the time, and you're the President of the United States, came out and say, inject yourself with bleach, then we know we need to go to someone just because
We're in
they're
trouble.
famous, just because they got money, just because they good sports people. No, you need to go to the same as anyone else. Go to someone who is qualified. I'm so thankful, Norm, that you're bringing up my folks. Laverne, let me say, Devon, greetings and bountiful greetings. Thank you for watching. Tilly, okay, Skill, thank you for watching. Levine Hamilton. In August, New Brunswick police killed a 68-year-old grandmother. I remember
Oh,
that.
yeah, I remember
Shot
that.
her in the back. Deborah
Yeah.
Terrell.
Yeah, I
Thank you,
remember
baby,
that.
for letting me know. Robert Cabbage Stalk here, family. Thanks. Joy Jackson, California, said, good afternoon, Barbara Townsend. We shout out Sister Townsend here. I am so pleased and grateful that all of you all tuned in, and we just hope and pray that you continue to do that. What we're trying to do here is bring you the information, because we're going to need it in that time when we get serious. When I say we get serious about ourselves, we are serious about ourselves. I mean our experts who have the knowledge and can put it together to create cures for us, or at least
Yes.
treatments for us, or know that we need it. We are in need because there are so many of us who are making statements, saying things, with intending no harm. But if you knew better, you'd do better. I
Yeah.
continue to say that. And if we don't know better, we can't blame us. If we declare, and some of us haven't thought of it this way, slavery was not just a crime, it was an injury done to us that has not left us. It's the kind of injury that just sort of mutates throughout the history of us,
Because they keep reinforcing it also.
Yeah.
And I think it was James Baldwin that said, you can't change everything that you face,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't change anything that you haven't faced.
Right.
So if you expect any change at all, you have to face it.
Mhm.
We have to face it, and with a tenacity.
Yeah.
Because they've said that we've rant and rave. Oh, blacks are rant and rave and so forth and so on and protest and stuff. And then after a while, they'll quiet down and accept the reality. No, the jig is up.
Right. Exactly. So it's
No
not
more.
us. We understand the assignment. We
No
understand
more.
where we should be, what we should do. But many of us really, if you listen to the news sometime, if you read the Facebook or any other social media that you go on, you'll find some of us are so behind in really the reality of who we are.
Yes.
Blaming us for some things or not accrediting us with other things. One of the things I've done since I can remember, I've always been very curious about things. One of the reasons that I got my 5 books, and my 5 books almost indicate how curious I was. Brought them along here just to give you a hint. My first one, I think this is my second one, Victims of Confusion. That declares right off, I am confused. We are confused, but I give 15-step program to reverse the damage of slavery. Now I'm doing that. Okay.
Spread them
My
out.
uh
Spread them
huh.
out.
And the second book I wrote was Verbal Healing. You know, the title at first was We Must Reject Tired, Trite, Tasteless, and Other Nonsensical Expressions That Keep Us Damaged. Understanding that
Mhm.
they're just words sometimes that keep us damaged, like the N word, for instance, and other words. But that is what I'm trying to convey. The third book was Emotions to Live With. I wrote that out of a concern that I had back as a child, and I'm gonna go into it. But as a child, I used to be confused with my pastor, who was always trying to keep us kids in tow. He would say, "Don't hate, don't do this, and don't do that." But then when I get under him is preaching on Sunday, and he would make the statement that God hates sin, and God was a jealous God. That confused me as a kid. I'm saying, well, if he has those emotions,
Right.
why don't we?
Right.
So it was years later that I came to a conclusion about
Understand.
things, and I said, and understand is emotions to live with.
Mm-hmm.
Let go, let God. If you got the
Yeah.
emotions that you know you
It's
can't control,
it's about self control.
yeah, yeah,
And critical thinking.
critical thinking. And then the fourth book, I did the quarters. I don't do uh, uh, fictions often at all. I mean, this is my first fiction and only fiction, but this one was a sort of a reality fiction that
Mm.
detailed some of the things that happened in my childhood from the quarters perspective. Then, of course, the fifth one was
And
Why Shouldn't
which
I
one was
Cry?
that?
Ode to the
Which one was that? The fiction?
the fiction, the quarters.
The quarters.
Sort of a Peyton
The
Place
court.
type of thing, but it was more than because then in the
Okay.
quarters from where I came, you had a lot of good people that got caught up in.
Like the pioneer
Yeah,
homes.
yeah, exactly. And but there were
Yeah.
great people in that
Right.
place, you
Yeah.
know.
I'm gonna read that
Then
book.
the
That fictional.
fifth one, Why Shouldn't I Cry? Ode to the Black Man. And I have another one coming. I sort of like a pocket. You could just put it in your pocket because sometimes we need something immediately to see where we are. It called Damaged Goods Made in America. What we want to know, what I'm trying to establish, the fact that anyone who's gone through the 200 years that we've gone through have to be damaged in some respect.
Right.
Not it's nothing on the person. It's on the system that will damage you like that and make you believe that nothing wrong.
Right,
You know, when you have certain issues, when you have certain Clarence Thomases around, they don't just come naturally.
Right.
They've been damaged. You know, and I use him because he's at the top of the heap. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they don't just come in the Supreme Court either. They right here in our community.
Right.
Right,
You know
right,
what I'm
right,
saying?
right, right, right.
So we have once we understand that, then we'll understand how to move more strategically and judiciously in our community around what we need to do
Right.
to get through what we are going through.
Right.
But
Mm.
we're going to get there. Yeah,
Yeah, I know we're gonna get there.
God be my witness, we're going to get there. So,
We got to get there.
yeah, we're going to get there. So, with that said, I think we got about 5 minutes if you all want to make a statement because, see, sometimes I get carried away and I know I talk.
Because you're passionate.
Yeah,
You're passionate.
but
I'm going to say one thing.
Well,
and
if
then
I
I'm
don't say
gonna-
anything else, I just want to add, yes, we are living in some challenging times. You know, there's so much division that's amongst us today, and it's just absurd how far to the left and to the right that we are, and how fragmented we are. So we ask, what is it going to take? But I just want to leave my closing statement is that we just got to stay engaged. You know, and as a minister, I can also say that I've been young and now I'm old, but I have never ever witnessed um, them getting away with
Right.
their evil.
Absolutely.
God always turned that evil around
Absolutely.
and turned it to good. What they meant for our bad, God always turns it around for our good.
Absolutely.
And so keep on fighting, keep on hating, keep on doing what you're doing because you're only making us you are our stepping stool.
Right.
Amen. And we may not see it now
right.
Right.
because we're looking at it through carnality, but if you look at it through God's promises, God is already working in the midst.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
He's
since
already
you're going to
bringing
take
us out and
God's
bringing us out.
promises, I'll take the universal laws because they don't change.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah, the
what goes
universal
up
law.
must come down, and you will reap what you sow. That's what changed my
And
life. I began
that's
to
right.
get sick and tired of sick and tired. And I
Mm-hmm.
said that
That's right.
my life has to change, and I have to have in my mind when God created the earth, He had in His mind what He wanted it to look like. And we have to
Yes.
understand to give God His due. He is our creator.
Mm-hmm.
And whether like I said, whether you call him Allah, whether you call him Jehovah, whether you call him Lord, give God his
Joshua.
due
Mm-hmm.
because he created us and he is going to take care of his children. There is a plan. And the thing is to do your due diligence, and maybe you can come because he said, my people perish for lack of knowledge.
Or
Begin
not
to
the black
study
knowledge.
and do your due diligence and understand who he is. And that's what I would leave you
Yeah.
with.
So if we're not all,
Excellent.
like you said, we're not all experts. But if you want to even begin to be an expert, meet us at the polls when it comes to the midterms
Yes,
Right.
in
something
September.
you could do.
You could be
This is the
expert at
first
that.
part.
If you're be expert at nothing
And
This
else.
get
is
your neighbor.
that
Don't
is the
only yourself,
beginning of us
get your
getting
neighbor.
out of this mud hole that this government is trying to dig us back under.
Right.
But we
Exactly.
are we are more resilient today. We're not
Absolutely.
those the Negroes from the '60s and the '30s and the
Right.
'20s.
Well,
Right.
We'll
let's
put you
don't
in
give
check.
them. Let's
We'll
don't
put you in
give them
check.
shade because they worked as hard as you
Oh
want.
yeah, but he
They
needs a
worked in
wiser.
right, but we are wiser, but they worked their
Oh
butts to
yes.
bring us to where we are
Yes.
today. They
Yes.
were killed, they were murdered, they had it all going against them.
Right.
And in spite of it, they moved us to
Yes,
where
they
we are
were
now.
resilient.
Yeah,
I gotta
resilient.
say.
See, the history book want to present them as being docile and everything.
Yeah.
Nothing docile about
No,
those
they
folks.
weren't docile.
I wrote it. I wrote that in this book here.
Definitely.
Why shouldn't
We
I
stand
cry?
on their
Oh, to the
shoulders.
black man.
Right.
You read this book, you'll see what black men did in
Oh,
my
I
day.
know. I can
I'm a
look
little
at it.
ahead of both of you. What they did in my day would surprise you, just singularly.
Yeah.
And I'm shocked to know how they were braved against the very mighty people who had everything.
How do you build the muscle?
Yeah,
How do you
Yeah.
build the muscle?
yeah,
You break it down and
Yeah.
you work it, right?
Yeah.
That's what they told me.
Uh-huh.
I know today, I don't think I know even a man that I know, the best athlete that I know, could stand in those fields
Mm.
under that hot
Under
sun.
and produce what they did and stay
Unbelievable.
alive
Unbelievable.
and fought their tails off.
I'm
I
telling
can
you.
witness.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And died. Those
Yes.
who died and stood
Yeah.
in line so that we could vote, so that we could have what we have. Could you imagine
Yes.
building Tulsa, Oklahoma, a whole city block that was self-sufficient and wealthy,
Yeah.
and educated men, and to have
Yes.
some of
They
these
set it on fire.
I hear my engineers
clearing his throat. I hear him
clear his throat.
Yeah.
It means
We get
that our time
passionate. We get passionate.
it means that our time is up.
Yes.
And I'm so grateful to you all who
Yes.
check in and listen to it. Just pass the word. That's how we're going to overcome. We're going to have folks who, and I'll advise all you all to listen to Black News. Turn off that CNN and whatever else you
Yes.
listen to Black News. It would encourage you.
Yes.
You'll listen here. Invite your friends. We need the what you call them, what you pack the books with. I can't remember.
What?
Just share.
Oh, share everything.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, you got me listening to 126 now.
Okay.
Sirius FM
Yeah.
126.
Share and
I'm
all that
learning
other
so
thing
much.
that you all do. But you tune in to us. That's what I'm trying to say. Tune us in.
Yes.
Goodbye and good luck and God
Yes.
bless you all.
Yes.
Good night, everyone. God bless to everyone too.